Hafide, and welcome to another episode of A Fistful of Talent. I'm your host, Joan Aguon Charfauros, senior producer here with KUAM News. And with me for this episode is Ken Pangelinan from the Pangelinan Bee Company, correct?
Correct.
And what made me, I'm always on Instagram, and I'm always looking for like the new businesses and things that seem really intriguing to bring on to the show. And I stumbled across your page. I think it was from following someone else's Instagram, and then your account popped up. And, I saw the bees, of course, and I saw the honey, and I've always been intrigued of the process and what gets someone interested in doing such a going into such a business. So I reached out to you. I was like, hey, are you interested? Are you available? Come on in and share your story. And so thank you so much for coming in and taking the time out.
No problem. We're really excited about what we're starting here for the island of Guam. I mean, there's just so much potential for Guam, for small businesses such as ours that are just starting out. I mean, and the outreach that we've done and that we've gotten back, it's just been overwhelming. I mean, it's really exciting.
So I guess because you look young, and so I guess how did you come across, was it one day, or you decided or was it something that you stumbled upon and you're like, what, that looks interesting. I think I want to get into that. Well,
let me start by saying I'm the youngest in my family, mm-hmm. which meant I could get away with bringing every animal that I possibly could home. So I was, like I said, I was just always that kid that would always bring something home from school and try and hide it from my parents. And of course I would get caught. But I was actually reading a book one day, and it had something to do with bees, and I was like, that's really interesting. And as I read more about it, it fascinated me because it's such a intricate network that they have. And of course they make honey. We use honey every day. And as I studied more, I realized that bees are monumental. There's a saying that says, if the bees disappear, so do we. So as I kept doing more research, eventually I reached out to one of our local beekeepers here. And this was about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. I started when I was 11. And I said, hey, can I purchase a hive from you? Can you come and set up one at our house? And he did. And since then we've continued to grow and sell honey, here and there. And only recently, we started to really put ourselves out there, put our product out there, start developing.
Well, when you came up with the idea after reading the books, and and I'm sure you approached your parents because, they don't want to you didn't want them to just come to the house and we have a hive here. I guess, did they take you seriously? They did think it was just like a fad or something?
I got intense opposition at first from my mother. There's just so much there's so much wrong information out there about bees, they're going to sting you, or people, there's just this fear, mm-hmm. And it is a healthy fear, but honestly they won't attack you if you're just walking by a beehive. They're not going to sting you. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I definitely got opposition from both my parents, but eventually I whittled them down a little bit, slowly but surely. And once we got our first hive and I let them try the honey from our first hive, they were on board. Everybody was on board with it. Yeah.
So I guess from that point where you got the first hive, mm-hmm. I guess to now, what is it? How has it expanded since then? So
we have done hive removal for different people on island, and when we do that, basically, if the bees make their hive where, let's say, I've removed bees from trucks, I've removed bees from houses. So when they make their hive somewhere, obviously you don't want to kill them. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that is what happens sometimes when they call exterminators, and that's where we come in. We try to, rehome the bees. So what we'll do is we'll come and we'll take our equipment and we'll take them out of wherever they're at, and we'll take them and we'll leave them at our property, and they'll then stay at our property. So we've done that, and then we've also grown our hives by dividing them. Yeah.
And you said that, you had learned about it reading books and everything. So I guess once board, did they start to, I guess, learn more? Did you encourage them, or were they enticed to get into reading and, look at, I'm sure like on YouTube, there's stuff too that they can look at.
I kind of did the reading, and I would let them know, if they had any questions, I would answer them for them. And I do the same for all my friends as well. And, it's really good I like educating people about it. And, once they find out about, what it's really about, everybody is really open-minded to it. I've had friends that are just terrified of bees, and when I bring them over and they look at my hives, and that sometimes I wear a suit, but oftentimes I don't, because it's too hot. It's really hot. And I'd rather chance getting stung than sweat all day. But when they see me being calm with the bees like that, and they're like, wow, you don't have to wear a suit or anything sometimes. I've started a few people out, and they have hives of their own now. So it's pretty interesting. So
I know, I was looking on your Instagram page, and there was someone that was, asking for honey, obviously, and you said that the next harvest was on this date. So I guess take us through, especially for people that aren't familiar with the whole, process. Take us through, the steps, because it's not something that you can do every day, obviously.
Right. Yeah. So when you have beehives, they go out and they get honey, of course, but you can only harvest it at a certain point. And that is when the bees fill the honeycomb cells enough to where they can seal it. And that means that the honey, the water content in the honey is very low. So you can harvest it and extract it. So that's what we do. And then it's then filtered and bottled. We try at our company to keep the honey as raw as possible, because it's beneficial for like people that have allergies. There is active pollen in the honey, so if stateside, like when people come to Guam, they're always looking for local honey, because sometimes the allergies are just so bad. So we do that. We try and keep it in its raw form, but it's fairly simple. It's a fairly simple process, I would say. Not much work required.
Is it true, when a bee goes to, based on whatever plant or flower that they're at, that it affects the overall taste of the honey? Yes,
definitely. So some things that we grow at our house that I notice coming through on the flavor of the honey is mango, avocado, definitely. And then I don't know I'm not sure what the name is of this plant, those little daisies on the side of the road, the white daisies, that makes really, really, really good honey.
Oh, nice. And I guess I know you sell these to people that are interested in the honey, I guess. Right. Are there favorites that they have? Is mango?
Mango is by far our best seller. That's where we get, we sell out so fast. So I remember, like you said, I was on Instagram. I did a post of us harvesting some mango honey, and within about 2 hours we sold out everything. So the demand is there, but mango is definitely going to be our best seller.
And going into this as a family, looking at it as a business,
right?
I guess did any of you have any kind of business background, or heading into it? Are you going off of using the power of social media and just getting the word out? The power of social media, getting the word out.
I do not have a business background at all, and thank goodness for my mother. My mother is actually taking care of the business aspect of it. I told her when we started the company, I said, you do all the paperwork and everything, the business license, make sure we don't go to jail, and I will take care of all the heavy lifting and harvesting and getting stung and everything. So that's what she's doing. Thank goodness for her.
And I mean, I know you mentioned you're the youngest too. So are your other siblings kind of getting into it?
No, they're more. I'd say they're more taste testers. Yeah, they like to taste test our honey.
Nice. And do you feel that it's with people trying to cut back on sugar, like honey is an alternative for them that many use, people ask for it in coffees now and things. Do you find that that's one of the reasons why there's such a big demand for honey?
I feel it's definitely a healthier alternative than like sugar. You have sweeteners out there like stevia, which is plant-based, and it's still good for you, but I also find that people like the taste of honey better than stevia and stuff like that. I mean, sugar is good as well, but I mean, if you can have something that's sweet and it's healthy for you, I mean, it works all around.
And I think if I'm not mistaken, honey, I mean, has like a lifetime shelf life.
They do.
Right?
They do. So because honey is antibacterial, it basically doesn't expire. I mean, yes, honey in the store is going to have an expiration date because they have to put that on there. But I mean, we've had honey from years ago that we still eat, and it's fine. I mean, it's one of those foods that. It's like those Navy biscuits. It's like those Navy biscuits. They're never going to go bad. You can eat them after like 50 years.
You can't tell because they're crunchy and hard to begin with. And we had the recent Typhoon Wutuk pass by.
Yes.
I mean, was that a concern for you guys?
It was definitely a concern for us. One, because our mango tree, we were scared we were going to lose our mangoes. Thank goodness it wasn't too bad, so we didn't lose that much. But when a typhoon does pass over the island and it does destroy plants, then that means that there's not going to be any flowers for the bees to go out and collect from. So that did concern us, but we always kind of have a backup plan. We planted sunflowers, we planted basil, and that guaranteed that is going to take time to grow, but it's good to plant things like that so that they will have something to fall back on, I guess.
And how you mentioned that you planted sunflowers and basil. I mean, are you like trying to like experiment too with different plants and different fruits?
Most definitely. I worked at Farm to Table for a little bit, Farm to Table Guam, and we were always experimenting with things that would grow on island that would be profitable and something that locals would buy, I guess, is what I'm saying. And we have tried to grow things like lavender. Lavender doesn't do too well here, but we're always trying new things out, experimenting. I had no idea that sunflowers could really grow well here, but I've grown sunflowers that are like taller than me. It's very interesting to put it in the ground and see what happens. And
I think that's one of the pictures on your Instagram that made me like. When I was looking, I was like, oh my God, this is sunflower. It's a sunflower on Guam. So I was like, the bees. So we have to like find out more about this.
Right.
I mean, so obviously Farm to Table would you say that kind of played a big role in your, not only your knowledge, but I guess your what you wanted to kind of focus on in terms of like, doing something that would be beneficial to the island and...
I would say it played a huge role. I mean, I started out there as a farmer's apprentice, and I learned so much.
I bet.
I mean, they're a nonprofit organization. The things that they taught me, they really helped me to perfect my skills as a farmer, I guess. And they also helped me in customer service, because we would go and we would sell our produce at the Thursday night market in Manila. And that really helped me to prepare myself for, I guess, selling honey to customers now, So they played a huge role in my growth.
So, when you started out with the hive and then, you notice that, hey, we're able to produce honey. I guess at what point, because I know the Instagram account is fairly new. So I guess what made you decide it was time to, let's put it out there on social media. Let's see what the response is going to be.
Well, I was considering it actually for a very long time, and I felt that I had been saving for a little while, so I had the funds to do it, and I've been wanting to do it for quite a while, so I figured it was time.
And were you surprised by like the response after? Because I think there's like less than 12 posts on the page.
I started that account I'd say about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and we already have almost 200 followers. I mean, businesses have been outreaching or have reached out to us, and it's just I was shocked, definitely, by how much of a demand that there is. I always knew that there was a demand, but just how much was there overwhelmed me, in a good way, of course. But yeah, I'm definitely surprised about how much people are interested in it.
And I think too, the fact that, you have like the mango, and I mean, I'm sure like these businesses that are reaching out to you, they're just as intrigued as I am to try to figure out like, what if it alters like the taste of certain things that they put it on, or that they included it in their dish or whatever.
Right.
Is there, I guess, with mango, is there what's the taste of each, the dynamic of each one, I guess?
Well, of course, mango kind of tastes like mango because mango is a very strong flavor, but there's other things like the avocado. Avocado makes extremely sweet honey. Extremely sweet.
Oh, I would never...
I don't know why it's so sweet, but sometimes it's a little bit overbearing. Just basically what's in bloom. A couple weeks after the bloom stops, we harvest our honey, and then we see what comes through on it, and you can definitely taste the flavors of different things. I mean, even tangan produces this dark, like really rich looking colored honey, and it's funny sometimes because mango tastes like mango, but tangan can taste like something else. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure how to describe it. You just kind of have to try it for yourself to see. But it's very interesting.
And so when it's time to harvest, I guess how many bottles or jars can one harvest produce? Well,
okay, so I guess I'm going to start by telling you that in a beehive you have these things called frames. And there are usually about 10 in each box, and then they have supers that they stack on top of them. So the queen stays on the bottom, and she lays her eggs in the brood chamber, and the bees fill their honey in the top. So you take out, I'd say we try and leave the bees at least with half of what they have. Mm-hmm. So you take out 5 frames. We did a very small harvest a couple days ago of 2 frames of honey, and that produced, I'd say, at least maybe 6 or 7 jars. So it's pretty good. And sometimes the boxes are so heavy that I can't lift it by myself because it's just so full of honey. Yeah.
And I saw too, there's when you were prepping for this Typhoon Wutip, how you were securing the boxes, and the boxes have these really nice designs on them. I mean, was that done by you? That
was done by me? Oh, you think my scribbles are nice?
No, they're nice. I'm like, I have never. Usually, you just see them in these like white,
right?
But yours had like these really colorful. I mean, is it something that you just I'm bored, I'm going to decorate the boxes, or was there a reasoning behind it?
There are 2 reasons behind that. So one of those being they are in our yard, so I wanted them to look semi-presentable because, this is my parents' yard as well. And like I said, I got to keep them on board with this. And 2, when a queen honeybee goes out and she mates, you have all these boxes that are stacked right next to each other. So when she comes back from her mating flight, she can actually fly into the wrong box and they'll kill her. So when I was designing my boxes, I did the design each a different flower, because the color where the hive is positioned, where the entrance is facing, mm-hmm. they all have factors. And when you only have one queen honeybee, so basically if she gets killed, you're kind of you're messed after that. You're messed up. So all those factors play a role, and I wanted to keep my chances of getting her back into the hive safely as high as possible. So that's another reason why I designed them like that.
Oh, I learned something today. Down the line, I mean, we're still at the beginning of 2019, and you're still kind of new, just starting out on the. I mean, are there plans in place? Do you have any plans in place down the line? Whether it be to offer it in retail or?
Oh yes, of course. So we've been collaborating highly with Farm to Table and Proa. So, well, of course, it's Chamorro month, Viva Mes Chamorro. Our honey is actually going to be featured in one of Proa's desserts for their Mes Chamorro month. So if you guys get a chance, you should go into the Aganya Proa and try some of our honey and our desserts. But definitely we're going to be selling it at Farm to Table pretty quick here. Hopefully, our target date is March 15th.
Nice. If
all goes as planned.
Nice. And, I know you mentioned at the very beginning, going to someone and asking to purchase a hive from them. Were they, is it something that someone would typically go and, were they kind of surprised? Here's this young kid asking me to buy a hive.
He was very surprised. I'll just say who it is. It's Mr. Timothy Estes over at Guam Lock and Key. He was like my mentor. I would call him almost every day when I had a problem or I didn't know what to do, and he would really give me some good information. But he was definitely surprised that. I think he thought it was a joke at first.
It's like, who are you trying to prank?
Exactly. But I did. I showed him that I was serious, and he really helped me out. It was really, I really appreciated that.
Because I'm sure he was surprised that being, at such a young age, and you really taking an interest in it, and I think that's something that I'm hoping that people get out of this is that,
right.
You could be young and you could see something that is, and take a really strong interest in it and find ways to kind of, because a lot of people will say, yeah, but I'm too young to do this, or, and it's great that your parents were,
right.
Were supportive with it. And I'm sure that to see it kind of taking off the way it has been, I'm sure that they're like, okay, I'm so glad that we backed him on this, and because now they're on board. As far as your dad, does he help you with? Because you were mentioning sometimes they get really heavy and you can't lift them. Is it something that your dad helps you out with?
I have a video on my phone of. Okay, let me amend my further statement. My siblings do help out occasionally. So I have a video of my mom, my eldest sister, and me all carrying this huge beehive. I think it was during not this typhoon, but the typhoon before it. This huge beehive, and I'm directing them. I'm at the entrance where all the bees are, and I'm telling them, okay, this way, carry it this way. So they definitely, they do help out. But sometimes those boxes are very heavy. So I have to, my dad, my mom, my sisters, they do help out.
But that's a good problem to have, where it's the box is too heavy. Right?
Exactly.
Do you have people that ask, the honeycomb on it, do some people request specifically for honeycomb? Because
yes.
I know there's some where in the jar, people will really look for the honeycomb in it.
Right.
Is that something that you guys?
It is something that we do on occasion, but it's also harder for the bees to produce more honey that way because you're taking out the honeycomb. So when we do it, it's rare, but people definitely do request for that as well. And we have done it before, but it's rare.
So, for those that are listening, and young entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, I guess, what piece of advice would you give to them, especially to motivate them if they have an idea that they're holding on to?
if they do if you have something that you want to do and you enjoy doing it, I definitely say go for it. I mean, yes, it's a risk. There's always a risk, you know. But if it's a chance to, what's the words I'm looking for? Make it your work, make it your daily work, and that's what I hope to do. Make this my career. Definitely go for it. I mean, there are so many businesses and people on Guam that are willing to help you start your business. It's like I said, our feedback that we've gotten since we started our Instagram page and went public has been overwhelming. So I say definitely go for it. Give it a shot.
Okay. And where can people find, you know, if they're wanting to learn more, where can they find you? Best find me. I'd say for right now, just follow our Instagram page, shoot me a message. We're always checking it, and we can give you some information. And if you have a beehive that you have in your yard or you want removed. Yeah, that's right. I was going to ask that too. Like, what if, you know, they can call, I mean, they can contact you, right?
Of course, always. Definitely we want to do the most beneficial thing for the environment, and that is saving the beehive and not burning it or not throwing a rock at it to get them to leave. But definitely go ahead and give us a message on Instagram.
And that's Pangelinan Bee Company.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Ken, for stopping in and for sharing your story. It's really great to see young entrepreneurs and like you said, it's a business that I think everyone likes and enjoys. You know, honey is
definitely
it's a sweet thing to get into. And you know, if you want to find out more, follow on Instagram. Pangelinan Bee Company, and of course, don't forget to head over to the KUAM Podcast Network to not only listen to this podcast, but all the other podcasts as well, and that's at soundcloud.com/KUM News. Until then, adios.